I watched my daughter, Emma, push her turkey around her plastic plate at the fold-out card table in the corner of my mother-in-law's formal dining room. Around the main table, Victoria Harrison held court with her usual collection of executives and their properly ambitious children. Of course, my grandson Bradley is already interviewing for summer internships, Victoria announced loudly enough to carry, following the proper path, unlike some who waste their time with artistic pursuits. Emma hunched lower over her plate, her long dark hair hiding her face. At 16, she was already an accomplished digital artist, her work gaining attention in online galleries. But to Victoria, anything that didn't involve a business degree and a corner office was beneath the family name. Emily, Victoria called out, deliberately using the wrong name as always. Do stop slouching at that children's table, though I suppose that's where those who reject their proper responsibilities belong. Bradley, 17 and already wearing his father's corporate smirk, snickered from his prime position at the main table. At least she's not showing everyone her little drawings today. They're digital animations, Emma muttered, but only I heard her. Victoria tapped her crystal wine glass, drawing everyone's attention. As we give thanks today, I'm particularly grateful that our family business remains strong despite recent setbacks. By setbacks, she meant my husband Michael's death 6 months ago. As if losing her father were just an inconvenient business interruption for Emma. Speaking of business, Victoria continued, Bradley has already been accepted early decision to the business school, following his uncle's footsteps, ensuring our company's future remains in capable hands. I touched the envelope in my jacket pocket, containing the documents Michael's lawyers had finally processed, the ones detailing exactly whose hands would be guiding the company's future. Perhaps, Victoria's voice dripped honey-coated venom. We should discuss finding Emma some sort of suitable position. Filing perhaps. Something appropriate for her. Limited aspirations. Emma's shoulders tensed. They didn't know about her acceptance into the prestigious digital arts program or the animation she created that had caught the attention of major studios. Victoria had refused to attend any of Emma's art shows or competitions, claiming they were embarrassingly amateur. Actually, I started, but Victoria steamrolled on. Michael always understood the importance of proper business acumen, she declared. He'd be so disappointed to see his daughter throwing away her heritage on childish drawings. The irony of her words made my hand clench around my fork. Michael had specifically chosen Emma as his successor because of her creative vision, not despite it. He had seen how digital media was transforming the advertising world. Dad loved my art, Emma said quietly, finally looking up. He said innovation comes from seeing things differently. Victoria's perfectly lined lips twisted. Your father was being kind, dear. He understood that some people simply aren't cut out for real business leadership. The executives around the table shifted uncomfortably, but none dared contradict Victoria. She had ruled the company's social hierarchy with an iron fist since her husband's death 15 years ago. Tell me, Bradley, Victoria turned to her grandson. How are your plans coming for modernizing our digital division? Bradley straightened his prep school tie. I've been studying the traditional methods, which are outdated, Emma interrupted, surprising everyone. The entire industry is shifting to immersive digital experiences and personalized content delivery. The silence that fell over the dining room was absolute. Did you actually speak out of turn? Victoria's voice could have frozen hell. From the children's table, no less. I decided it was time. Standing slowly, I withdrew the documents from my jacket. Emma, I said clearly, why don't you take your rightful seat, the one at the head of the table? Victoria's knife clattered against her fine china. What nonsense are you spouting? Michael's final business decision, I replied, spreading the papers between the crystal and silver. Emma is the new CEO, effective as of this morning. All voting shares and executive authority have been transferred to her, with me as advisor until she turns 21. The shocked silence that followed was broken only by Bradley's choked cough. Impossible, Victoria whispered, but her hands shook as she reached for the documents. Michael would never. Would never what? I asked quietly. Choose the daughter who inherited his creative vision. The one who understands where advertising is actually heading instead of clinging to outdated methods. Victoria's reading glasses trembled as she scanned the legal documents, her face growing paler with each paragraph. Around the table, The executives who had been so quick to laugh at Emma's childish drawings suddenly found their plates fascinating. This is, Victoria sputtered. Completely legal and binding, I finished. Every share, every vote, every executive decision now requires Emma's approval, including the budget for your redecorating projects, Victoria. Bradley's father, Richard, cleared his throat. Surely we can reach some arrangement. Bradley's been training for this position since he could walk. I raised an eyebrow. Tell me, has he created any successful advertising campaigns? Does he understand how modern consumers interact with digital media? He understands proper business protocols. Victoria snapped. Emma stood quietly, picking up her tablet from beside her plastic plate. Would you like to see the holiday campaign I designed, Grandma? The one Dad approved before he died. Without waiting for a response, she projected her work onto the dining room's wall. The executives gasped as a stunning digital animation filled the space, a campaign that seamlessly blended traditional values with cutting-edge technology. Michael signed off on this, one of the board members whispered. It's revolutionary. Of course he did, I smiled. He knew exactly who should lead the company into the future. While some people were forcing his daughter to eat turkey off paper plates, he was teaching her everything she needed to know. Victoria's hand clenched around her wine glass. The board meeting on Monday will be Emma's first official act as CEO, I cut in. I believe the first item on the agenda is reviewing all executive compensation packages, including certain unauthorized personal expenses. The color drained from Victoria's face. Those personal expenses, charged to the company for decades, would not stand up to serious scrutiny. You can't expect me to report to a child, she hissed. Emma calmly switched her presentation to another screen, this one showing analytics and market research. Actually, Grandma, I've been running our social media campaigns anonymously for the past year. The ones you called surprisingly effective last quarter. Bradley's fork clattered to his plate. That was you, but those campaigns increased engagement by 60%. 73%, Emma corrected quietly. Dad said talent doesn't need a corner office to prove its worth. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against imported marble. This is absurd. The social implications alone are exactly why Michael chose Emma, I interrupted. Because she understands that modern business isn't about social clubs and country club memberships. It's about connecting with people where they actually are. The other executives were already pulling out their phones, no doubt looking up Emma's digital portfolio. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to something approaching awe. The Silverlight campaign, one whispered. That was you. Emma nodded. Dad let me pitch it under a pseudonym. Said the work should speak for itself. That campaign doubled our market share in the under 30 demographic, Richard admitted reluctantly. We've been trying to figure out how to replicate its success. I have a whole portfolio of similar concepts, Emma offered, plus some new ideas about integrating augmented reality into our traditional media spaces. Victoria watched in barely concealed horror as her carefully cultivated power structure crumbled. The executives who had been laughing at Emma minutes ago were now crowding around her tablet, excitedly discussing her ideas. This isn't proper procedure, Victoria tried one last time. The transition protocols have already been implemented, I cut in, sliding one final document across the table, including the immediate audit of all executive expenses and social fund allocations. Victoria's hand froze halfway to her wine glass. Those social funds had financed her lavish lifestyle for years, including this very mansion. Mom, Emma spoke up, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. I'd like to move the company's annual Christmas gala to the Modern Art Museum. Their digital installation space would be perfect for launching our new interactive campaign. But we've always held it at the country club, Victoria protested. The social implications are exactly why it needs to change, Emma finished. We're an advertising company, Grandma. We need to lead trends, not cling to outdated traditions. Bradley, looking slightly shell-shocked, raised his hand as if he were still in prep school. What happens to my internship? Emma smiled slightly. You can start in the digital media department, learning from the ground up, like Dad made me do. Plastic plates and all. The simple justice of it brought tears to my eyes. Even now, Emma was showing more grace than her grandmother ever had. This is your last chance, Victoria, I said quietly. You can either adapt to the new leadership, or what? She demanded, but her voice lacked its usual authority. Or you can explain to your country club friends why you're no longer invited to board meetings, Emma answered. Dad said sometimes the hardest part of business is knowing when to step aside. Victoria gathered her designer purse with shaking hands. The shareholders have already been notified, I smiled. They're particularly interested in Emma's plans for expanding our digital presence, something about her previous campaigns showing extraordinary market insight. As Victoria stormed out of her own dining room, Emma turned to the remaining executives. I'd like to begin individual meetings with each department next week. Dad left notes about where we need to modernize. The transformation was remarkable. The same people who had relegated her to the children's table were now scheduling meetings, pulling up proposals on their phones, eager to impress their new CEO. And Grandma's table? Bradley asked hesitantly, eyeing the expensive furniture. Emma ran her hand along the polished wood. We'll donate it to the children's hospital. They need a proper place for families to eat together. All families, not just the ones Grandma thinks are important enough. As the executives filed out, already calling their offices to prepare for Monday's changes, I watched my daughter stand at the head of the table her grandmother had forbidden her to approach. Ready for your first board meeting? I asked softly. Emma smiled, a hint of her father's confidence finally showing through. Dad always said the best revenge isn't in taking power, but in using it wisely, I finished. Though making Victoria eat at the children's table during the Christmas gala might be a nice touch of poetic justice.